I mean, this job just requires you to work, simply, right? Like, if you're gonna work, if you're gonna be successful, you have to work here. Like, you can't just mail it in every day. You can't just go through the steps because you're not gonna be successful.
Welcome back to another episode of The Zone Presents. I have a special guest here all the way from Texas, Mr. Yoel Teckle.
Guys?
What's up, bro?
How are you, man?
Thanks for coming on the show, man.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, we appreciate you, brother. Well, like I say all the time, we're going fast. You ready?
Let's go.
All right, good, man. Well, so you're from Texas. So
Yeah.
tell me what's that like. And before you got into like a professional job, what were you doing before this?
Sure. So before that, I worked for a collection company, actually.
Interesting.
So one of my buddies started it. I was helping him out with that. Ended up going through that for roughly about 4 years
Interesting.
and wanted something new. So ended up me knowing a buddy that did solar back for that company.
Uh-huh.
Got together with them, worked for about 4 months, and then, met Beezer and
Well, did you like solar when you first heard about it, or first started doing
no,
it?
it's terrifying.
Yeah.
I hated it. The
Right.
fact that like I have to talk to random people. Like my first day was literally like I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just knocking on people, be like, "Hey, we're selling solar. Are you interested?" No, okay, awesome. Have a
Great
good day."
pitch.
You just walk off.
Hey,
Yeah.
that's what we all
The
started
worst
out
pitch
like.
ever. So
Nice, man.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times, like, people forget that, like, we are going to perfect strangers' houses, and it can
Absolutely.
be kind of terrifying for anyone. I mean, I think if you don't think like that, then you're not actually human,
yeah,
and I commend you for that.
Yeah.
But we're human, so we have to feel that way.
sure.
So then you meet these, 4 months being in the game. What kind of got you interested in what we were doing?
So I mean, so Austin probably tried for a good like 2-3 months to
Oh, boy.
get me over here, right? And I'm like, dude, I'm not moving to Florida.
Yeah.
There's no freaking way.
Yeah.
And he's like, just come try it for 2 weeks, see what you think. Finally, like he came back home. So actually from the same city, so from Rockwall.
Yeah.
And he's like, just come have dinner with me. And I was like, no, I know this game, dude. I know exactly what you're gonna do.
Smart man.
Literally.
Did you go to dinner?
Yeah,
Oh,
went to dinner.
there he goes.
Next
Happened.
week,
It happened.
I was in Florida. So
There you go,
Yeah.
brother. Well, we're happy you did. I'm sure you are too.
Yeah.
So then, as you're, sitting down with them at dinner and talk about the opportunity, what kind of like intrigued you?
I mean, you just talking about the culture here, right? So there wasn't much of a culture at the company I was before.
Mm-hmm.
There was really no room for growth. It was more just, hey, come hit the pavement, go home, and do it again.
Mm-hmm.
So just him elaborating on the potential that is here. I'm like, you know what? No, 2 weeks is not going to hurt me.
Yeah.
Let's try. So
It's funny you say that because some people say 2 weeks is gonna probably kill me.
yeah,
It's a different kind of paradigm shift.
Yeah.
When you think like that.
yeah.
And that's kind of cool because then, talk about your first 2 weeks. I know it wasn't
was awful.
perfect, right?
It was awful. I didn't get a single, I don't think I even got a set my first 2 weeks. And coming from a company to where I was relatively successful,
Mhm.
it was such a weird concept of struggling. Because I'm supposed to be the dude that knows how to do it.
Hmm.
2 weeks into it, I distinctly remember being at a door, probably knocking for an hour. And I'm like, screw this. I can't do this anymore.
Mm.
I'm not getting a single set. So I call Austin up. I'm like, dude, this isn't working out. I see a bar across the street. I'm probably going to go drink and get on the next plane home.
Dude,
So,
you're not the only person that's had that
Yeah.
conversation. I think a lot of people go through that.
Yeah.
It might not be a bar, it might be something else, but at the end of the day, it's like I could do something else than do my hard job.
yeah.
Because I think if anyone looks at this like it's so easy, then we have, you've had success too early on, and you're probably complacent now.
Yeah.
But if it's challenging, I think more importantly, you'll work hard. But if it's not, what's the point?
Yeah. It
Right?
makes you work for it.
Yeah.
It's just you have to struggle a little bit.
And it makes a man out of you too when you have to go through that decision of.
I almost cried that day, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh
It's,
man.
it was a weird moment to have, but obviously just after talking with them, even 2-3 days after that, I still didn't get a set, but luckily, it changed.
I love that you said that
So,
because I think, you're sitting here because, no one sits here because they just started out. No offense. We
Yeah.
want to make sure that, people come on here, they can go through it, or they're going through it, or they can talk about it. And to be honest, you're here because you've done a really good job fighting through the beginning stages of
Sure.
what is a very difficult industry,
Yeah.
right? And now you're a year into this game,
yeah.
and you've kind of progressed pretty substantially.
Luckily I have.
Yeah, right?
It's been pretty good.
So tell me what the transition was like for you. Obviously we're 2 weeks in at we struggle. We had the conversation with bees, which you didn't know at the time that would be a conversation you'd have later on in life. That was your turning point in a
Yeah,
sense,
not at all.
which I think a lot of times it happens. And now you start hitting the ground running,
Yeah.
and you start getting success. So what changed mindset, and what kind of happened for you to go to the next level?
I mean, I think it was just working on my craft. Like honestly, I thought it was going to be just a job that I can come here and dominate, and that wasn't the case at all. Like from the time I get up to the time I sit down, like we work 21 hours a day, but like people don't see what we do 3-4 hours before that, right? They don't see the standards that you hold yourself to, and I think that was key in, at least in my life, making that transition over.
So like the non-negotiables, for example,
Exactly.
like some people have like the gym, the family time, whatever the case
Yeah.
it is. What were the non-negotiables that you held yourself to on your come up and obviously going forward?
Sure. I mean, one of them is definitely like working out, surrounding myself around people that were successful, right? Closers that were successful, annoying the hell out of Kellen and Austin with a million questions, right?
Yeah.
Just every day, like working on it.
Yeah.
Every single day, doing something different, like reading a book that's going to help me out. So that was when the mind shift actually started for me, and I started kind of that momentum for the most part. So
It's funny you say it because, like, I don't really count people's dollars, not ever been my thing, but
Sure.
I know, when you have success in this job, you do financially pretty well.
Yeah.
What has been the hardest thing, or what has made you different to, like, seeing this a week, a good sized weekly check come in, and then wanting, the drive to go out to work, or even study,
Yeah.
on the off time? What really was the factor for you?
I mean, just the factor is just seeing changes in my life, right? Because I think it's hard sometimes when you hit the pavement and there's no change that you're actually seeing. But the minute you start getting that momentum, you start getting the first check, right? You start building this rapport with people. You talk with the guy that no one else could possibly close, and you end up setting him or closing him.
Yeah.
And you just like, yeah, I can do this.
That
dude.
excitement, right?
Like, if anyone else can do it, like I can do it. Why not? So,
Love that.
yeah, that's kind of the momentum change for me.
Good. I think, and obviously it still reigns true now. I mean,
Yeah.
you're growing pretty substantially, but there's that solar coaster that everyone goes through.
Yeah.
Did you ever experience a lot of that on the come up, or even do you experience it still to this day?
Yeah, I mean, you still experience it till this day, right? I remember my first self-gen that I did.
Yeah.
Like, super excited, like, built rapport with this guy, right? And I'm like, dude, I'm going to go in there. It's going to be an easy close. I got this. I walk in there, and for 20 minutes, I'm just fumbling.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And the guy looks at me and goes, "This is your first time doing this?" And I was like, "Yeah, it is." He goes, "Just relax."
Yeah.
He's coaching me through it,
Oh, wow.
right? But and then we just started bonding. We just started kind of clicking. Ends up like, I end up closing him, having dinner with him and his wife. Like, she's cooking, and she's like, I'm about to leave. She goes, "Oh no, you're gonna cook." Like, I'm cooking. It's gonna be 30 minutes.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we go outside, smoke cigars, and shoot his guns until she cooks food.
What a cool job.
Right?
First cool self-gen.
The first self-gen, and I ended up getting 4 other referrals from him.
Look at that, man.
Yeah, so it was a good
Excellent work.
experience.
I think a lot of times, we harp on this, like, we're told to pitch, we're told what we're supposed to say, but at the end of the day, like, when the dust settles and you're having an actual conversation with people,
Yeah.
that's when the real magic happens, because people buy from people they like,
Exactly.
but there's a logical sale, so you don't have to be very manipulative, you don't have to be scripted, you just have to be real.
Yeah, I mean, they
Right.
gotta trust you.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. Like,
Very
if
true.
people don't trust you, you're not any good to them. You're not any good to yourself.
Yeah, it's
So.
extremely true. I think a lot of times you have to build that,
Yeah.
right? Especially in the beginning stages. But I like I said, you've had a fast transition, and you had a little bit of past,
Sure.
which most people don't have.
Yeah.
But I think what's really cool about your story is you had a past in solar, you had a ton of success in it. Then you come over here, you don't see that success, you question yourself, and then you work even harder to get better, and you're still working harder to this day.
Absolutely.
So then, what kind of advice would you give any setters or self-gens right now, other than what we kind of discussed already, that would really help them?
I mean, this job just requires you to work, simply, right? Like, if you're gonna work, if you're gonna be successful, you have to work here. Like, you can't just mail it in every day. You can't just go through the steps, because you're not gonna be successful.
Well said.
So, biggest thing is just work on your craft every single day, whether you're at work or not. So,
I love it. And then, if you were to give a number on the hours in which you would put yourself in front of doors, especially in the come up,
sure.
how many hours would you say, like, roughly a week you would do?
Man, in the beginning, I was literally, like, I'd knock mornings and I would knock evenings. So I'm probably doing 6 to 7 hours, if not more.
Which, in turn, if you look at it, is pretty much a 40-hour week,
It is.
right?
Yeah.
And it's a lot of times we laugh about this. We're like, hey, you work 40 hours a week in this game. you'll make more than doctors or lawyers or
Yeah.
these people that went and had 10-year educations. And we laugh because we think we hear people say, yeah, it's possible, and then you have other people that are like, no way.
Yeah.
Right? Or then they start having success and they don't work hard.
Yeah.
So again, you drive this home, and I want to accentuate this, like, effort.
Absolutely.
Effort's everything,
Like
right?
that's all it is. You got to put effort into it if you're gonna be successful. So
But you're a big reader too now,
I love reading. Yeah.
and you spend time in your craft. So like,
Sure.
talk about this book that you're reading. I love it. You've read it 5 times. It's called
Yeah.
The Letters of a Stoic.
Letters from a Stoic. Yeah.
Sorry, I butchered that.
No,
Letters
you're
from a
good.
Stoic.
Yeah.
Talk a little more about that because I really like this.
Sure. So, Letters from a Stoic is by Seneca the Younger, who was a senator to begin with, right? But from the Roman time, he came from a very successful family, like had everything essentially like lined up for him to be successful. And like in his 20s, ends up getting tuberculosis, and so they send him to Egypt. Thank God we live this day. I don't know how people survive, to be
Oh
honest
man,
with you.
crazy actor.
Dude. But so they end up sending him to Egypt. He spends 10 years there, ends up coming back, starting his stuff back again, and he gets exiled again, right? So
Wow.
when it's all said and done, he ends up getting exiled 3 different times.
Interesting.
But this letter essentially is him writing to one of his friends just about life
Mhm.
and just about stoicism in general. And it's to not be so emotional, right? To understand you're not special. Life happens to everybody.
Wow.
So that's how you deal with it and how you move on. And I mean, I'm telling you, like 5 times. So
Yeah.
I love it. It's an amazing book.
I mean, listen, I've met people that read books, that many times, and
Yeah.
there's a reason why you keep reading it.
Absolutely.
And I think it's compelling to remind yourself, especially when it comes to like leadership we are now,
Sure.
of where you came from
Yeah.
and what you can do to share thoughts of how you got there. And that's pretty cool. I'm interested in reading myself.
You
I
should.
challenge
It's an
people.
amazing book.
Yeah, I definitely challenge everyone to read this stuff. I think if you invest in yourself, like you'll always get the best out of it.
Absolutely.
Spend
Yeah.
time on your craft.
Yeah.
Well, I know we've had a fun time today. Appreciate your time being on
Absolutely.
here.
It's always a
You're
pleasure.
killing it, man.
I can't wait to
Keep
be
it
back
going.
here. Absolutely, man.
We'll see you soon. Thanks
Thank
for
you
being on the
so
show.
much, man. I appreciate it.
Yoel Teckle.
Thank you, guys.